My association is Junior Chamber International. Started 100 years ago in New York. We are doing business partnership, networking, because we are in the world as a global, and we have members different of countries like Spain, Turkey, African part, American part. We have members. We are connecting to each other and sharing projects or developing together and creating a business things also. And we have a logo coming from United Nations. This is first association we are holding to logo, and I can say about that. And we created the Bosses Club, and this part you support the Bosses Club as an entrepreneur, as an investor. And thank you so much for came to here sharing the experience to people how to get entrepreneur information or what is the stories about entrepreneur. Thank you so much for sharing the advice. I can listen you. Who are you and what are you doing in your life and how did you start?
Sure. So I think I've always been an entrepreneur. I remember I started programming when I was 14. So while I was still in school, I bought one of the first computers that came out in Spain. In those days, it was an Amstrad 6128. Most of you probably won't remember or know what this one is, but it was one of the very early computers that came out, and it was loaded with the language BASIC. So I started programming in BASIC, and then I taught myself how to program in BASIC. I then learned to program in Pascal, CPM, Fortran, fell in love with programming. From there on, I kept abreast of technology world, although I went on to study genetic engineering and biotechnology. Throughout my university years, while I was doing genetic engineering, which is molecular biology, I carried on working with computers, writing programs. I was one of the very first few people to create web pages when the internet started in 1994. I dabbled with various different things, looking to see what works and what doesn't work. During university years, as a matter of fact, I used to purchase secondhand computers, refurbish them and sell them at a higher price to get some extra money for my university expenses, and I had to live on. After I finished my university degrees, I set up two companies. One company was a biotech company with a friend of mine, with a colleague of mine, which we then sold our shares in. The other company was an IT company, which was really my company and my brand. I sold consultancy, I did seminars, mostly on internet, the use of internet for personal use, for business use, mostly in those days. I told or I showed the business owners, big enterprises and government organizations what internet can be used for, how helpful it could be for them, what to use from it, and how to set it up in their organization, how to introduce it into their organization. And during that time, between 97 and 2000, 2001, I wrote 5 books. So the first one was Welcome to Internet, which was an introduction to what the internet is and what it's all about and all the different terminologies. Then my second book was The Final Second, regarding the issues of the year 2000. And in those days, many computer BIOS firmwares were programmed in 2 digits for day, 2 digits for month, and 2 digits for year. So come the year 2000, the 2 digits for year turned into 00, and computers wouldn't be able to distinguish whether this was 1900 or 2000. So a lot of the biases needed to be upgraded, and there was a lot of talk about problems that were going to happen and disasters. None of those really happened, and most of the bias issues were updated before then, but the disasters were a lot less. And I even remember one of the funny things I remember of the market taking advantage, things like this that were happening, and it was a toaster. I saw a toaster being sold with a Y2K sticker, and it said it's Y2K compliant. So a toaster really does not have a bias, but people took advantage of these things, and They sold that. Then my third and fourth book was Internet for Research and Internet for Business. My final book was a dedication to a science foundation, which was Introduction to Genetics and Biotechnology, which is what I studied. Thereon, I moved, I was in Iran at that time for 5 years. I moved back to Spain, where I am currently based, and I set up Electronbox and PC Doctor, which is the company I sold 4 or 5 years ago. Electronbox and PC Doctor is basically, I met the market need. It was again an entrepreneurship move. I moved to Spain wanting to do something, but I had to pivot to what the market was demanding. I moved from being a consultant in Iran, and I moved over here thinking I can carry on being a consultant and I can carry on giving seminars and things like that, and that is not what the market in the southern part of Spain wanted. So I started providing IT services, basic IT services, and we grew the company from just myself. Within 6-7 months, I started employing somebody. We went up to 15 people. Then recession hit in the year 2008. We managed to do really well until actually 2012. 2012, we also were hit, after a long-term effect, and I had to lay off absolutely everybody. And I went back down to myself as a one-man team, and I restarted everything again. So I then rebuilt the company, I regrouped, I rehired, and managed to sell the company in 2018. During this time, I also created a software as a service. In the software as a service, again, many things did not go as planned, and this is where you learn, I think, the most, when things don't go as planned. And this is where certainly I learned the most. I learned everything I know about entrepreneurship, actually, I would say, in that last project, in the software as a service project. And again, we hit rock bottom. Until we managed to, understand where we were making a mistake, adjust our prices, adjust our offering, look at the target client that was paying us the most, and then we started selling, and we doubled our income every year on year for 4 years, and that coincided with the same year that I sold my business, and also COVID hit a year later. So during that time, because I had sold my business, I had the opportunity of taking a couple of years off. And when I took some time off, I decided to also dedicate part of my time to entrepreneurs and startup founders who want to make it, who have good ideas, who have created a good solution and want to get somewhere but don't know the ropes, don't know how to climb the ropes. And I wanted to make sure that they don't commit the same mistakes that I did. And I found a very good mentor towards the end of my journey. If I had that mentor at the beginning of my journey, I could have probably gone further. So I've turned myself now into what I call a hands-on mentor, and I really work with startup founders hands-on. I get involved in the project, I look at their project as if it was mine, and I actually do part of the job. So whether it's part of building the wireframe or the software architecture or the financial plan, whatever it is that they cannot do, I put myself into it and I do it, and I make sure that I take some work off the plate of the entrepreneur, because as entrepreneurs, our plates are already full enough. We can't add more. And many people come to you and they say, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And, this is very important, do this. But you're already full on your plate. There's very little you can put in to your plate or on your plate. So the way I think that my problem was at the time, that when people gave me advice, was like, great advice, but I don't have the time to do it. I needed somebody to help me with the same advice that they were giving me to actually implement it. And I promised myself, if I ever had to do this, I would actually get involved and I would do it. And this is where I have been actively working, not just telling them this is what you need to do, but I've been doing part of that job and making sure that job is taken off their plate so that they can dedicate their time to what they can do. And I have contributed towards their success, towards their journey. And of course, they learn by being with me, and I equally learn from them, from their project, from their ideas, from their knowledge. So it's a win-win situation, and I've really enjoyed the past 5 years of mentoring startups and being a startup advisor. So over to you. That's kind of like a very general idea of what I have done in my journey so far.
I would like to
Okay.
ask about entrepreneur and states need in the process leading to entrepreneurship.
Okay. What do people need to become an entrepreneur? And
Yeah,
I think the most important things in entrepreneurship are two things. It's passion and vision, because entrepreneurship is about starting a project, and it's about starting a project that you love. When you love doing something, then it doesn't matter whether you earn money immediately from it. And when you have setbacks, when you have problems, you push yourself to get over it. And in order to succeed, you need vision. And the vision is your final goal. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to solve? So passion is the energy that will get you over all the obstacles, all the setbacks. And your vision is basically, you know very clearly what you want to achieve in life. You know very clearly what problem you're solving and what solution you're giving to your customers. And no matter what obstacle, you may have to detour, you may have to change route, but you get back on track and you move towards that vision. So for me, the most two important things are passion and vision. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you've got to love what you do to be able to get through it, and you got to be very focused and clear about what it is that you're doing, what is the what it is you want to achieve, or what is the problem you're solving.
and in entrepreneur ecosystem, ways is different other ways, like because you are leading your own. And what would be your three pieces of advice for a promising entrepreneur?
What are my advice to a promising entrepreneur? The number of things I always tell entrepreneurs is pretty much the same things always. The first thing is, don't run after money. A lot of entrepreneurs are lost in what is the media and the glory, and they start thinking about becoming a unicorn and making billions of euros and all of that. Don't run after money. Run after your passion. When you run after your passion, you have energy. You're doing something you love. Money is something that is a byproduct. What you get when you deliver a value from your passion. That you see painters, you see singers, they deliver something, and after only delivering it, when that product is at its max or the best, that is when they receive fame. They get the payment and they get all the fame. But before that, it's not the money that they can go after. They've got to pour their heart into their passion, into that song, into that painting, into that software. So first of all, don't follow money, follow your passion. The next thing that I also say is, don't fear the failure, because failure is only just a mistake that we need to correct. You can use the power in failure to up yourself again, improve what you have. And if you think of all the thousands of scientists and people who have succeeded, they have failed 1,000 times before they have succeeded. So fear of failure, fear of competitors is debilitating, and you've really got to get rid of that fear. And once you get rid of that fear, then the only thing that you need to have is a clear focus and a clear vision, which is your objective. And you go for it with full force, because tomorrow is a day lost. So you can't lose that. And you've just got to push at your highest speed, if not at 10 times your speed. This is something that, we got at the Toastmasters session yesterday, and you learn something every day. And yesterday we had a speech by another one of our members, and he said 10 times whatever you're doing, and 10 times in what you do is what will allow you to achieve your goals. You can always do it, but it's always up to you whether you want to press on the accelerator and go faster or not. So those who do it, those who don't fear, and those who follow their passion time and time over, we have seen that they're the ones who actually succeed. So these are the three most important things that I always say to entrepreneurs. Don't follow money, follow your passion and don't fear, just go for it.
And how do you find the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Spain?
So the entrepreneurship ecosystem is
Yes.
developing pretty fast,
Okay.
and there's a lot of government funding around it, and there's a lot of venture capital coming to Spain, and it's growing and it's improving. When I started, there were hardly any venture capitals in Spain, and most of the venture capitals were at later stages and not the early stages. But nowadays, there's a good number of funds which actually fund early stage and seed stage startups. And there are loads of entrepreneurs actually moving, in particular, to southern Spain. So the ecosystem is growing and it's flourishing. And I see a very good future for entrepreneurship and startups in southern Spain.
What are your observations for Europe part and America part?
The Americans are fearless, and the Americans really invest into the future. The Americans look at what is not possible and they make it possible. Europeans are a little bit more conservative. Small ticket in America may be €100,000 investment, and a small ticket in Europe is around €10,000 of investment. And you see the success equally. All the big companies, all the unicorns, all the ones who've really made it big are in America, because the Americans have bet on them. And Europe needs to catch up with that mentality. Unless you don't bet on your own lot, you're not going to be able to beat the Americans. You're not going to produce what the Americans have. And those who do make it every now and then in Europe end up being purchased by the Americans. So that mentality of the investment needs to change to match the American fearless investment, but also higher amount of investment.
As an investor and an entrepreneur, you can look at it from two sides. What are your expectations as an investor?
I look at the product. So if I invest, and I've invested only in 2-3 small startups, so I'm very seed early stage investor. And the companies I've looked at and I've worked with and invested in are the ones where I can be of value, and that I can see the product need clearly. And then the next most important thing is the team has got to be able to deliver and also lead. So those three things are what I really look at, and with that I decide whether to go in or not. So I've seen plenty of pitch decks, well over 1,000 pitch decks over the past 4 years, and I've only been involved in 3 startups so far, hands-on.
As an entrepreneur, what do you expect from investors?
What I would expect from entrepreneurs is their whole heart, because if your heart is not in it, you're not in it. And if your heart is in it, everything is in it. That is the first thing that I expect from entrepreneurs. It's when your heart is in it, you're not looking at the time, you're not looking at doing other things, you're doing what you do because you love it. That's when you get results, because that's where I talk about the passion. If you have the passion, you're able to achieve it. And when your heart is in it, you don't let it go. You don't get disillusioned by setbacks, because setbacks and problems occur in every startup, in every company, in every part of our life. And we need to be able to understand that, okay, this is just another challenge and it can be solved. All we have to do is be creative and look for a solution. And if you love what you do, you bring out the creativity in you. Your heart will create that creativity, will make it happen, and you will be able to get over that challenge.
What would you do differently if you had the opportunity to re-establish your business?
What would I do differently? I probably would do 2 things differently. Number 1, I would have less fear. I became fearful because of a couple of bad advice I received from the naysayers. And you really got to remove the naysayers from your surrounding, those people who say, oh, you're never going to achieve it, you're never going to be able to do it. That's their experience, that's their way of thinking. You've got to see whether, of course, something works, and the market tells you whether it works or not. If you have your clients there, if the client is saying, yes, I want it, I buy it, then go and sell it. And selling, is something most important part. So I would pour more money and time into selling and marketing, and I would remove all the fear of failure. These were two of the things that really pulled me down during the initial part of my journey.
And how should entrepreneurs share their ideas or projects?
That's a very general question. How should they share their ideas or their project?
With
Your
investors,
idea
yes.
should be a solution. Yeah, your idea should be a solution that solves a problem. So you should be showing how you're going to solve a problem and how it affects a particular set of people. And if you can show that you can solve anybody's problem and there are more people like that, then you've solved the problem. The more people have that problem, the bigger your market. But it's about solving a problem.
What would you like to add to them? They are putting the decide and they are taking a risk. And what would you like to say, as a mentor?
If you don't take risks, first of all, you're not going to get anywhere. If you don't take a risk on your own money, don't expect the investor to risk his money. So first of all, you've got to take that risk, and don't think of it as a risk. Think of it as you're investing in your own heart and in yourself. Because the first thing is, by investing in your project that you love, you've invested in something that you're doing. And through that doing, even if it fails, you will have learned so many valuable lessons that you will never learn anywhere else. So invest the money, invest and do it.
Would you like to add anything?
It's been a pleasure being with you and sharing my experience with you. I just would like to say, good luck to all the entrepreneurs out there. Do it with love, do it for yourself. If you follow your passion, I have no doubt that you will succeed. Just don't fear and don't ever give up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.